Good morning and welcome to Race Industry Now, the weekly webinar series from EPARTRADE, presented to you by ARP, Performance Plus Global Logistics, PIC, Shop Monkey, and Fifth Third Bank Motorsports. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of EPARTRADE, the global platform for the performance and racing industry. This is episode 346, and we're going to be talking with Giant Finishing. With me this morning are Gillie, the co-founder of EPARTRADE, and a wonderful host back this week with us, Mr. Brad Gillie. Judy?
Thank you, Francisque, and thanks everybody for joining today. Exciting to have Giant Finishing back on with us. And, you know, they just offer all sorts of machines, equipment, media, compounds. So they literally are a one-stop shop in what they do. So we're going to have an exciting little shop tour today. And I'm going to hand it off to you, Mr. Brad.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Francis. Thank you, Judy. Really appreciate that, and looking forward to a fun hour here on EPARTRADE as well. And I'm excited about this. You know, what I really love about the webinars that we do is it's a lot of it is really a learning process. And even like we were talking last week, sometimes you find out things that you didn't know you needed, or at least in that capacity. And I think today talking with Giant Finishing is going to be a lot of fun for sure. So we'll see y'all here shortly, and we're looking forward to this. If you're viewing right now, I always want to remind you that if you have a question at any point during the conversation, feel free to type it into the chat, and we could definitely talk about what you want to talk about. But today's topic, the metals finishing experts helping you improve your finishing process by Giant Finishing. And Mark, you know, I've attempted to pronounce your last name, you know, by myself with no one around several times, and I know I'm going to get it wrong if I try. So help me out.
Oryszczak.
Oryszczak.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks. Majority of times I just tell people Smith, you know, and then they pause and wait for a second. But it's it took me a while to learn how to spell it myself.
That's pretty funny. Actually, I might have guessed it right, so that's good. Anyway, Mark, president and vibe guy of Giant Finishing. So give us a little bit of an overview of some of the things that we're going to be talking about. And man, I just look forward to picking your brain because I've just done a deep dive in all the products that you guys have to offer, and it's pretty awesome what you do.
Well, basically, what I wanted to talk about or just explain to people as far as how finishing can, you know, finishing your parts can help you out. We make your parts better. Okay. Eliminating a lot of manual labor, okay, by mass finishing processes. And there are multiple finishing processes to go over. Okay. Our main concentration is vibratory. That's our, you know, bread and butter, heart and soul. But besides that, we also deal with centrifugal barrel finishing. And I want to talk about centrifugal barrel finishing versus vibratory finishing. Then we can get into blasting and slurry. And with blasting, you've got dry blast, which most are familiar with. Then there's also slurry or wet blast, which is a different animal, okay, that most people are unaware of. It's popular in Europe, okay, and it's gaining more and more popularity here. But then you've also got washing equipment, and you know, dryers to go along with that, and we've got batch style and then also continuous flow. Okay, put it in parts on one end, out the other end, and then there are different types of dryers. You've got rotary dryers, belt dryers, corncob dryers, which is we're very familiar with, because the benefit of using a corncob dryer is, imagine you've got, you know, thousands or millions of little hot towels actually wiping your part clean. So an actual corncob dryer can get you the best looking finish with no water spots, no fingerprints, nothing of that nature.
That's really cool. Yeah. And in going through, I will encourage people too. You guys have a great YouTube channel of just some nice, really short videos talking about different processes with different types of parts. I mean, you know, heck, an engine that was caught on fire, you can see all the rust and everything, and how nice things look, or, you know, preparing things for aluminum anodizing or things outside of the automotive industry, you know, with firearms and all of those different things like that. But what I did find fascinating is, like you said, just all of the different types of ways to finish metal and some of the things that you have. So, you know, I don't know where the best place to dive in, if it's just like a vibratory tumbler or something like that. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, we can start with that. and a matter of fact, Matthew, go ahead, turn the camera on. Okay, flip it around with the GBB4. There we go. Okay, right there, here's a bread and butter machine. It's very popular. Most are familiar with. It's just a vibratory batch bowl. There's no internal separation. Okay, the operator would have to hand pick the parts in and out. Currently, we're running ring gears, which obviously this industry is very familiar with. It's a very popular machine for this. And then the media. If you can go ahead and pick up a handful of the media, okay, this media was specifically designed for the gear industry. It's got like a sharp, it looks like a shark tooth. It's a sharp angle. It's a 45 or 60 degree angle to get into the valleys of the gears. Okay, many of you are familiar with chemically accelerated, or they've heard of the REM process has been popular. Then there's also the ASF process, which we're very familiar with. Isotropic finishing, there's a lot of different names for it, but basically it's a chemical process to get into, that removes the oxidation that occurs, exposes the raw metal surface, and then goes after it, goes after the, apologize, stumbling my words, the oxidation again. And it's a continual process. Instead of the traditional cut and polish with ceramic media, okay, it uses the chemistries to do it. You're using it in one media. Now, people argue which is better, and it all depends on what you're trying to do, okay? Who's the end user? Who are you trying to sell to, okay? Chemically accelerated is not for everybody. It can produce some gorgeous finishes, okay? Top notch, but it's also sometimes costly with the equipment up front, okay? And it's usually used for higher end parts. There are ways to go with, like I said, the cut and polish, and we're going to show you a crankshaft that was done more the traditional version, okay? He's walking over there right now. He's pulling it out of a corn cob, okay? This is a dry polish, and this is a second step. This is not just throw it in there and throw a crankshaft in there, but you can get what looks like a chrome finish.
Wow.
Going with the polishing cob is also done after a chemically accelerated process from time to time. Okay. It puts, like, going from the Mercedes-Benz finish to the Bentley Rolls-Royce, you're up in your game. Okay. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Okay. What looks good to you might look like crap to me, or vice versa. So a lot of times when we start talking to people, we want to find out, what are they looking for? What are the intentions? Is it just for cosmetics? Is it for performance? Is it for just function? Let us know. Okay, we can handle on all levels. It all depends on who you're working with. Okay, go ahead, drop that back in there, guys. Okay, but back to the GBB4. I know we're bouncing around back and forth here, but we just saw that wedge was a tub style, but this is a bowl style machine. This is what most people are used to. Our machines come standard with variable frequency drive. Guys, go ahead, slow that machine down. Because you guys notice the action now. Now watch this. Okay, we can get a very gentle action, because people are going to wonder, is like, worry about the parts beating up on each other, especially when you've got valuable gears here. Okay, it's an expensive part. If those two parts bang into each other, it could be damage. Okay, you could ruin this beautifully machined part. Well, one thing we do is, with our machines, you can really fine tune the machine. I like to relate, with cooking. I mean, I'm a fat guy. I like to eat. Okay, so I think of the machine as, it's an oven. It's a tool. What do you want to make? A pie, a pizza, a cake, a casserole, lasagna? They all require different ingredients in different settings. Maybe a different style oven. Okay, you're not going to utilize a microwave oven to sear a steak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Not at all.
Same scenario. Well, this is more or less like a smoker. Okay, guys, go ahead, turn it up, turn the speed back up. See, just a touch of a button, you change the action of the machine. walk over to the centrifugal barrel. Okay, now they're going to take you over to what I would consider, that was your smoker. Now you're going to go look at the microwave oven. It's a centrifugal barrel. And then this is another method of finishing, high speed. Okay. Go ahead and turn it on, guys. Okay, now this is a slower speed. What you have here, you've got canisters. Okay. A small compartment. This is more for high speed finishing. What you can do in a vibe, say it takes you a few hours in a vibe, you could do it in minutes in a centrifugal barrel. You could also use finer medias. Okay, guys, slow the barrel speed down so they can get a better look at the action. Slow it all the way down. This also can slow it down. This is basically like a Ferris wheel at a carnival that goes nuclear. Okay, you've got a 1-to-1 ratio of the turret spins one way, the barrel spins opposite. So we're dealing here not with RPM, but G-force basically. You can ruin parts and distort parts in here, so you got to be careful. Okay, something like this, you can also make adjustments with how far you fill up the barrels. Okay, guys, go ahead, stop the machine. Open it up. And let's just show off the different barrels. Okay, right there, we've got our clamshell style barrel. Something like that, we can put dividers in where each compartment can have each part would have its own compartment, so there's no part-on-part impingement. Because if parts would touch in here, they would get destroyed. They could get destroyed, okay, by them beating, because like I said, of how aggressively this is running. Versus a vibe, when you can play with the variable speed, it's more or less of an incidental contact. Here it's a head-on collision at 80 miles or 100 miles an hour. Okay, guys, go ahead, jog it. All right, this is your standard barrel. Latch end at the end. Just load it and go from there. Okay, go ahead again. Jog. This is a half barrel. Okay, just like you just saw the last one. Now we got half size for parts to keep them. And go ahead and jog it one more time. And this is a bolt-on barrel for you get a little more room, and it's because you're dealing G-force, it's a little more heavier duty construction for longer time cycles. You put something like this in. Guys, go ahead, close it. All right, fire it up again. All right, turn the speed up. Keep going, like you're rocking. Now that thing's, you see that thing rocking. All right, go ahead, kill it. I can walk.
I'm curious on a machine like that, and looking at it where you have all the different canisters and everything. Let's just say you're batching out parts that might need a couple of different finishing processes along the way to get to maybe my final polished product or whatever. I mean, can you literally just start rotating parts from canister to canister to canister?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked it. Yes. You'd have dedicated barrels in this particular case. So you don't have to use the same way, and you do. There's wet processes and dry processes as well. As you've seen in our video on our YouTube channel, which is continually growing, I think we've got like 170 videos ballpark-ish right now and currently growing. We've got some centrifugal barrels on there. And a matter of fact, the most recent centrifugal barrel video I did was doing gun slots, okay, for Glocks and like high-end type deal. And it's a multiple step, it's a 3-step process, okay? And the benefit of doing something like this in a centrifugal barrel or doing the finishing in a centrifugal barrel, it can get into the little nooks and crannies. There's a lot of labor intensive polishing that goes into some of these precision parts. It takes it out of it. Let the machine do the work. The thing I keep telling people with mass finishing equipment, whether it be vibe, centrifugal barrel, blast, whatever, let the machine do the work. The machine show up on time, every day, sober, no baby, mommy, daddy drama. Doesn't complain, ask for a raise, will work round the clock, okay? And what's that worth to you in today's world, Mr. Customer? How valuable is a reliable employee that you don't have to worry, that they're going to show up to work and it's going to perform day in, day out. The job on a Friday is going to be just as good as the job done on a Monday, So, and then, like I said, with vibratory tubs, centrifugal barrels, blasting equipment, very reliable. Guys, go ahead back over to the lab.
This is great, by the way. The way you have this set up, Mark, with the shop tour and everything, and actually being able to see everything in action in real time like this. I love this.
Well, show you everything. My shop is in shambles right now. Unfortunately, we got hit with a natural disaster of a tornado. Okay. We're still recovering. Okay. Right now, we're just showing you the lab area and part of the shipping dock or whatever. Okay, but here we got the GBB4. You guys, we've already gone through this. Guys, go over to the wedges on the left. The wet processes. Okay. Here's a dry process going, but here we got wet process. Okay, guys, fire it up. Okay, there you go. Notice the level of media. The first thing that I'm going to tell everybody out there that's watching is the media level. The most common mistake customers make is they do not put anywhere near enough media in the machine. The machine that you guys are looking at now, our Model Wedge 5, is hands down our most popular machine. It's the most versatile, best bang for the buck on the market, I know, because I know my competition. But it's a one size fits most for us. It's a 19-inch by 35.5-inch process chamber. Okay, it's 110 volt on casters, steel enclosed sound cover. Okay, and it's got its 10-gallon steel fabricated settling tank with recirculatory pump, and comes standard with variable frequency drive. Okay, the automatic premixing compound system, there's an option. That's if you're going to go to drain. Okay, that's the ideal situation, but not everybody has that luxury. Okay, most people are forced to recycle. Okay, and that's where the settling tanks come in. And we've got like I said, the machine comes standard with a 10-gallon, but also we offer larger options. But a machine like this, connecting rods, crankshafts that go in here, camshafts, springs, pretty much anything that's going to fit in this in a ideal window is a 15-inch by 30-inch window without any issues. Can you run larger? Yes, but now you're getting into how the part is configured. Okay, if you've got long, skinny parts and you could throw a bunch of them in there, the issue is because it's a random tumbling action, the parts could potentially walk out and jackstraw because of the variables in there. And I've watched parts get damaged, so you got to be careful. Now, variable speed can change that. Guys, go over to the one with the headers. Here's a very popular model for your or process for your industry is polishing headers. Guys, go ahead, fire it up. Okay, many are familiar with this. Okay, it's microbright porcelain spheres. Okay, for polishing headers is very common practice in this industry. Okay, it's been for a long time a mix of, the norm was a 3-4-6 mix. We don't care for the threes. Reason being is the action of the machine. Okay, you're not going to notice much of a difference in the reach, okay, between a 3 and a 4 millimeter, but the amount of drainage and the action that it causes is drastic. And what's most important in something like this, especially with the porcelain media, because it's a much tougher media to turn. Okay, it requires a little more balls, a little more eccentric weights to get going, because what you have, it's a denser material. It's got zero abrasive in it. Okay, so it's got no, and they're spherical, so you basically have nothing to grab onto. Okay, then you might want to have to play with the liner. You know, do I have a softer liner or a hard liner? Some of the machines out there, guys have you know, the 95 hot pour. Well, that thing sucks when you want to turn steel media or something of that nature. If you've got a softer liner like an 80 or 85 durometer, it's much easier to play with. Okay, but that's another variable, say, part of a recipe, as I was talking earlier. Guys, go ahead to the media kit. I'm gonna walk over to the table here. I've got some before and afters, but what I want to show you is this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is, you know, when I go to a trade show, I'll have this sitting out there and you see many different sizes, shapes, and compositions. Okay, starting at the bottom right corner is plastic. Okay, what you see there, we've got those red OM plastic media. We got a 1/4 inch. We got a 3/8. Looks like I got a 3/4 inch cone. Above that, I've got I believe that's a 2-inch tetrahedron. Next to it, 1 1/4, and then a 3/4 inch. So I mean, we've got all different shapes and sizes. Then next to that, the black media down there, that's our black high density media. Okay, that cone right there, that's used a lot for aggressive cut. That ceramic media would damage the parts. So like, for instance, aluminum. Okay, say you got a nice machined aluminum part, but if you run ceramic media is much harder and brittle and could potentially leave pecker tracks or something, or impinge in the softer metals. We'd use the plastic and it grinds it down. It cuts just as well, okay, but you don't have that impingement issue, okay? Above that is our pre-polished porcelain. No, down a little bit, guys. The purple, yep, 3/8 right there, just above the black media. That's for very, very fine finishing prior to plating or anodizing. We found that, you know, it's very fine abrasives in there, long lasting. Okay, common question many people have asked, okay, or is a common question is, how long is the media going to last? And it's always a loaded question. How aggressive? What are we doing? Are we polishing? Are we doing heavy deburring and grinding? Are we, you know, prepping for play? It all depends. It's like grits of sandpaper. The more aggressive you go in the media, the faster it's going to wear. Now, we've got customers that once it wears down to a certain size, they throw it out. And we've got customers that just continually add to and never change out the media. Okay, because it's going to run itself down until it goes out the drain. Okay. Next, okay, that's basically the plastic over there. And then next to it, majority of the finishing is done in ceramic and in vibratory and centrifugal barrels. Okay, you've got cones, you've got aggressive cuts, you've got triangles. We showed you our gear media. We've got one that we call our gun media as well for getting into those precision gun parts like the rails of an AR-15. But it is very similar to the gear media. Okay, above that, we've got the white porcelain that you guys seen, and there are pins available, there are spheres, and it comes in all different. I mean, we'll go as small as a 1 millimeter porcelain sphere. We got 1s, 2s, 3s, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 so far. Okay. And they've got pins, they've got triangles, they've got spheres, and a lot of times there's a mix. In the wheel industry, okay, they do a mix a lot of times to get into in between, you know, the spokes, and because no two wheels are the same. You got all these different designs and getting into little nooks and crannies. So all depends. Guys, start showing off some of the before and after on the parts. Okay, here we've got the connecting rods, steel connecting rods. Okay, just to show you the difference of what can be done. And now go over to the other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can see your reflection.
That is impressive.
And you can even see somebody's greasy fingerprints all over it already. And that's either from a trade show or they didn't clean it up good enough. Yeah, see the smudges?
Yep.
And that's why at the trade show, we try to keep it behind the glass.
Yeah, but that almost that actually tells you just how polished it is, though. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, it
No,
really does.
and you can do it. And for the trade shows, everybody wants to see the bling. Okay. And I'll have parts sitting on my desk that I've run samples for, and people come in and talk to me. Even my father, he'll come in here and start putting. I go, will you stop touching that? I said, I just cleaned that. The customer's on the way in. You get your greasy fingerprints all over it,
Yeah.
But it's just notorious. Everybody who sits down at the desk, okay, so they feel, oh, this is neat. I go, just it happens all the time. But it is it's impressive. It's eye catching, and it works. Guys,
Right.
what else we got over there? We got a ring and we got the ring gears. Okay, hold on a second. No, the ring gear, guys, right there. There's a small pinion, but go to the ring gear next. Right there. Yeah, look at that. Pick that up, show them the sides.
Wow. And the great part of that detail too is being able to see like down in the valleys of the gears and all of that.
Well, that's as far as friction reduction. Okay,
Mhm.
you don't have to break in the ring and pinion. You don't have to break in the gears. Okay, and by reducing the stress fracture or the possible for breakage, it runs cooler, smoother. Wise man once told me, smoother is faster. Okay, guys, show them the Porsche part, the brakes.
Oh, very cool.
We've done stuff, and this is prepped prior to anodize. Okay, it's a very nice, smooth. I mean, you can touch it. Okay, and see how smooth it. Well, obviously you guys can't, but if you picked it up, you definitely know a blind man can see how pretty you can make this part. Now, if I
Yeah.
wanted to polish this thing up, the next thing I would do, I would throw it in a polishing corn cob to get that mirror will look like it's chrome plated, like you guys saw that crankshaft. All right, guys, put that down. Now show them the exhaust of some before and afters there. Okay, there's an exhaust, a raw exhaust. Okay, now show them the blasted one. Okay, and I believe we put that one in a slurry blaster, which we're going to demonstrate here in a few minutes. We can walk over and show them of what that can do. Okay, but that's just cleaning off the rust. And do we have a polished one over there as well, guys? There you go.
That's impressive. That really is amazing. You mentioned something, Mark, about you might have samples for a customer, and one thing that I thought was really interesting with what you do over at Giant was that you'll run a sample part for someone, and you were talking. Yeah,
encourage that. Okay, seeing is believing. Okay, I'm a believer that I know what we're doing. I need to make you a believer. Send me your raw samples. So you see, it's not going to be smoke and mirrors. Send us your raw, your ugliest, toughest part. Let me take a look at it, and we'll analyze the situation. We'll call you before we run and say, okay, what do you want to do, Mr. Customer? Did you send over a sample of what you wanted, or you want us to tell you what the other guys are doing, or give you some options? And then we'll run it for you. Okay, if you want to prep it for paint, prep it for powder coat, prep it for anodizing, plating, whatever, or final finish for, do you want to polish? Or do you just want to clean it up? Get rid of the weld, the heat scale, and the weld splatter. Okay, we can do that. Just breaking the edges. You tell us. Sometimes we've over and like, oh no, I don't want it to look that pretty, because then my customer's going to expect that all the time. They just I'm just looking to get the handwork out, just the natural deburring, which is the best way to justify payment of the machine. Okay. Guys, why don't you walk over to some of the blasters, show them some of that. Okay, the first one over here on the right. Guys to the right. Yep, this is our big boy. This is a big dry blast pressure blast. Okay. Back up so they can see the whole cabin. There you go. Okay. Many of you guys in the industry are familiar with this. Is dry blast. Okay. This is great for stripping paint. Okay. Removing aluminum oxide or rust. And a lot of times aluminum oxide or glass beads are used. Now, when you're using aluminum oxide, tears up cabinets. Okay. It's wear. However, it does it quickly. Okay. You can see all the paint that's already ripped off the back. Okay. Well, that's the first blast that's gone anyways. Okay. Guys, now go over to now a downfall of dry blast is dust. Okay. That people don't like is dust. So that's why slurry or wet blast, or also they call vapor blast, vapor honing, is what we've done. Steven, is Steven ready to go ahead and blast apart? Show him. Do we have anything in there yet? Oh, he's grabbing it. Okay. Go ahead, show the camera, show what we're looking at. All right, go ahead. Throw it in the cabinet. And Matthew can get behind him and show you what's kind of going on in here. Okay, like I said, the main benefit of this is no dust. Okay, the water keeps it down, and you can also put oily, greasy parts in here so you can kind of wash and blast at the same time. The benefit here is by doing that is in a dry cabinet, you can't put oily, greasy parts because the glass beads or aluminum oxide are going to clog it up. You have to wash the part, and it's got to be dry first.
You could already see what a difference it's making that quick.
Tell them to turn on the windshield wiper. That's what it's there for. There you go. Go ahead, pull it out of the cabinet. Show them what we got.
Now, on something like this, are you just using water, or I know when it comes to
there's
recipes,
water and abrasive, and also in some instances chemistry as well. Okay, you may want to throw a rust inhibitor in there. You may want to throw some baking soda in there. You may want to, commonly the slurry blast is used with glass beads. Glass bead, like a fine glass bead, like a number 10 or finer. Okay, and then maybe some baking soda mixed in. Okay. And or chemistry. All right, guys, go ahead and throw that back in or set it down. But what's he got over? Has he got anything else in there or no? That's it. Or he's finishing it up. Okay. Regarding blasting, okay, you've got your main two. You've got the dry blast, which is the most popular at this time in most cases. But like I said, then also the slurry, wet, vapor. Depends on what tomato. There's different lingos. Then there's also shot blasting. Okay, where it's a wheel machine where you're slinging steel grit and shot is another method, but that's a lot more devastating to the machine. So it's a harsh environment. Okay, that's used a lot for structural on castings, and they've got machines that
for benefits plus $0 delivery fees on eligible orders.
What's that? Okay,
I don't
know what happened there. Commercial jumped in or something. Guys, you go ahead back over to the vibes. Okay, we showed off, we've got the headers that we showed off in the porcelain. We showed off the ceramic in the other wedge. Okay, here we've got the sample parts, got the media, the GBB4. And turn around. All right, There we go. The GBB4 over there. Go over to the minis in the GBB2. Almost forgot about those.
All right. And I'm not sure if you're hearing the music also or not. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
I don't hear any music.
Okay.
Okay, here we got our minis. Okay, go over the one with the shot with the casings. Very popular model here. And I'm sure most out there for tumbling brass, for the brass reloaders, we do a lot of this. Okay, our mini giant. And this is kind of the smallest machine we go to. It's kind of an in-between between a tabletop and a real machine.
Wait, it's the
Okay.
Zoom audio.
It's
So
like a
when I talk, check 1 2 1 2, it's recording. And if Brian, if you can talk.
Yep, go ahead. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
got to-
Cool.
Huh.
So this is recorded. Say this is your interview.
Yeah,
To
I'm not
play
sure where
back,
that's coming
You want to
from.
make sure that the PC
Me neither.
fader is up
Okay,
because,
guys, behind that is the GBB2.
oh, sorry. What is that? Is it because?
You got that one running?
Hold on.
Okay, and that one's actually got that
Oops.
creates
Because this thing is something.
PPP, the purple
All right, so if I play this back,
polished plastic. Okay, that's the one that we
so
use.
when I talk, check
for-
1 2 1 2, it's recording. Then
Yep,
this is-
go ahead. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
So that's
Hear me?
your recording pretty much. And then I'm not sure how you would save it. That I guess you can ask Tom where you want.
All right.
I can hear you.
that might have been
Hear that.
coming from my end.
No, is it coming from your end?
I think it was. I think something else connected to my computer, so it's off now. Apologies for that.
Oh, no worries. Anyway, that's our pre-plate media prior to anodizing or plating our purple plastic. Okay, very, very fine finish. In our GBB2, okay, it's a smaller machine. We recently just came out with this model. Okay, the smallest we were making for quite a while was the GBB4. Okay, and then we've got the mini. This is the first actual, we'll call it industrial sized machine. Okay, and we were kind of forced into making this by an ammunition company that bought several pieces of our equipment because they wanted to tumble projectiles part on part. Okay, and it's just their batch size is what it was, is because that's what they needed. Because if I put it in that other machine that we were showing off, the GBB4, it was too big that you weren't getting the proper tumbling action. As I mentioned to you earlier, guys, go back over to the wedge. I know I'm jumping around here, but notice the media level. Okay, we're probably about an inch, a couple inches just below the spray bar. That's a good tumbling action. As I mentioned, the most common mistake customers make is not putting enough media in there. When they don't put enough media in there, you're not getting the action. The parts are just vibrating on top of it, and they're wondering why their time cycles are so out. It's taking them 4 hours and nothing's getting done. What you want a nice tumbling load, tumbling action, so the part gets completely submerged in the media. The way you got all the weight of the media grinding down on it. That's where all the work is being done. Now, I understand why customers are not doing it. What they're doing is they are not putting enough media in there because they got small parts in a machine, a tub style machine like this, where they have to go in and hand pick those parts out. And it's a total pain in the ass. I understand. Well, first problem is they bought the wrong machine, or they're using the wrong machine for the job at hand. Ideally, if you've got small parts like this, you want a bowl with internal separation. So it would be we'll call it the male version of that GBB4. Hey guys, go walk over by Julio by the GB3. I believe he's got one that he's building right now. And hopefully it's got a screen on it. As a matter of fact, it dawned on me after the fact. But this will show you why you should have a screen separator on the machine. It makes it easy. So now your operator doesn't have to dig for those parts. And like I said, they're not putting enough meat because it makes it easier for them to pick it out. Do we have a GB2? There we go.
This is really cool.
This is perfect for small precision parts. Are we operational with this one yet, guys, or no? There you go. Perfect timing.
Yeah, you have a great video where you have laser cut, small laser cut
Yes.
parts on this, and just watching the media roll through the screen and the parts just bounce right to the end and fall in a bucket. It's just perfect.
Yeah, there he's throwing the dam up in the gate in unload mode right now. Because they're testing this for somebody, for a customer, getting ready to go out the door. But basically here, now you're the price difference between the GBB4, where you'd have to pick those out by hand, versus this is maybe a couple grand, okay? But what is labor worth as far as sitting there digging for the parts for hours? I mean, sometimes you'll find parts weeks later. You know, you put 100 parts in and you'll get 88 of them out, okay, if they're small parts. Guys, go ahead, drop the dam. And this is just a manual dam. Go ahead, drop it. You know, watch the load mass go down. Okay, now you're in process mode. Okay, so now you can run the machine for half hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to whatever we determine. Then, you know, when you're ready, then you go ahead and manually throw it up and unload. And we can automate as much as you want. Okay, if I was always told, if they have the money, we have the technology. But on a machine like this, I think it's way overkill. Okay, it's much easier just to do it by hand. Something like that takes some minutes, not
Yeah.
even on something like this.
Yeah, what a great feature to have on there. And when you see it in action, with just the parts, again, just going right across the screen and, you know, dropping down into a bucket, it just, that makes sense. And I think that's really cool.
Now, we mentioned, what were some of the other things? I mean, I know I was jumping around all over trying to cover multiple.
Well, one of the things I really thought is really neat, Mark, is you know, you were talking about running sample parts, but and this is literally just straight from the end of your videos. Let us help create a recipe with the right machine, media, and chemistry to finish your parts consistently. You know, I love the idea that I can say, this is what I have, this is what I want to do with it, and you can come back to me with a machine and say, here's the media you need, here's the recipe you need, and it just feels so much more turnkey to me in that way.
It is, and that's why, you know, I got the nickname Vibe Guy. I got a guy, you know, being from Chicago, I got a guy for everything. Well, I turned out to be a Vibe Guy for a customer who turned out to be a good friend, a buddy of mine. You know, he introduced me, refers me, hey, this is my Vibe Guy, Mark. You know, this is the Vibe Guy Giant. You know, let us give you the right machine, the media, the chemistry, and the recipe to finish your parts consistently each and every time. If you buy the Vibe from me, you get the chemical from the guy down the street and the media from the guy in the next town over. If your parts are coming out and something's wrong, who are you going to call? First person you call, a guy whose name's on the machine. You call me. I'm going to tell you, hey, that's the media guy. You got to talk to him. Media guy is going to tell you, no, you got to call the chemistry guy. That's chemistry. That's his problem. Chemistry guy, no, that's the machinery. So you got a lot of this, and in 2 to 3 weeks, you may or may not have an answer. The approach we take is, we're going to take full responsibility for your finishing process. You don't care if it's the machine, the media, the chemistry. Mark, fix it. That's it. Okay, so we're going to come in. We're going to take a look, see what's going on. And more than likely, it's a process. Somebody on third shift forgot something or whatever the case, but it's a process change. I say, hey, you don't have it. Most common one, you don't have enough media in the machine. You know, I can walk in and tell you, hey, you're running the machine backwards. Well, they didn't even fire. I could tell by the way the position the media is sitting that they were running it backwards. I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but I've gone to, you know, South America, and I've taken, you know, my distributors with me who obviously spoke Spanish, and they were translating. I just did a walk around in 45 seconds. I could analyze. I knew they were having bearing problems. I knew they were having issues with parts beating into each other. And they're like, how did you know that? And I said, I could tell. I said, hey, well, you didn't have a cover. They're splashing acidic chemistry in the center column. I'm watching them do this. Okay. That's not good for the bearings. I said, they're running it wrong. I said, they're flooding the machine. The drains are probably clogged. You got to do this. You got to do, simple preventative maintenance and just following the process of what's been created for you is important. When you start taking shortcuts, with every action, there's going to be a reaction for it. Okay. And then there are problems that exist. And all of a sudden, now it's a catastrophe. Like, oh, what are you doing? I say, well, you got to start. Who did this? Why? And question. So when we come out, okay, we also like doing site analysis. Okay. I'm a road warrior. I travel all over the country. Okay. And I've seen a lot of different things, I'm learning too myself. I'm like, hey, that's a pretty damn good idea. And I've stolen ideas. I say, hey, that's a good idea. I want to use that for somebody else. And we'll create projects. Say, hey, I know what these guys are. These guys tried this. This is a good idea. And we've incorporated that, and with our equipment, with our, adding options, we take, guys will say, yeah, they're complaining about that. Well, we take that complaint and we use it as a constructive criticism for their next machine. Okay. And it's work, we're very customer service based and oriented and try to help the guys out. And, just our knowledge and customer service is mainly why we get all that referral business.
I think this is great. And just looking at everything, some of the things you even talked about, let's just say if I'm doing something in a 3-step process, am I better off having 3 machines? Is it hard to change out the media? How does that work?
That depends. That's a loaded question. It's going to depend on your volume. If you're doing onesie twosies, it's going to be, well, here, I'm working on something with the government right now. Okay. The issue is they're lazy. Okay. They don't want to change it out. If they have the volume to justify it, absolutely the 3 machines. But a guy starting off in his barn, his garage, his basement, he doesn't have the budget or the footprint a lot of times for 3 machines. So you start with 1 or maybe 2. If it's a 3-step, you want to use the 3rd machine as a dry process, segregate that, because going from a wet to a dry is a total pain in the ass. Okay, because now you got to clog the drains, you got to wipe the machine down, cross contamination. There's numerous things going on there. Ideal situation would be the 3 steps, but the wet processes, it's not hard to change out. There's an access door on the side, more than likely, like our wedge 5s, you'll never use it. You'll ask, well, why do you have it there? Well, because our competition has it and it's used as a sales tool. Realistically, just by running the machine, and you could scoop it out as running, a guy could change out the machine in 5 minutes or less. Okay. Now, if it's taking a guy half hour to change out the media, find a new guy. That's the issue. Okay. Because like I said, a good guy could do it in 5, mediocre guy 10, 15 minutes or longer, find somebody else. Okay. To do the job. But a lot of time they'll start with the 1 machine and then they're going to, you know what, after going back and forth, give me another, because now we can justify. It depends on how often you change that. It's going to be volume, budget. There are numerous, and I'm not going to, ideally, yeah, I want to sell you 100 machines, but it's not for everybody. Hey, let's start with 1 or 2. And then when you get those things justified, now let's go attack the other ones. Now, okay, now we can justify. And then also the nice thing about having multiple machines, you could have the multiple processes, but also segregating the part. Now you got different medias. Okay. Say the media, there's no one machine media and chemistry that's going to fit all your parts. So that's why you got to segregate it. So this machine over here is going to be for parts A, B, and C. And then this machine over here, D, E, F, G. Okay. And just group them together. And some of them, some parts can go in either machine. It's not going to matter. Okay. A lot of times we'll sell the wedge series is our most popular machine. And then our GB3. Okay. Cause they'll have flat, large plates, but then they'll also have 1x1 flat parts. Well, the 1x1 flat parts, yes, it can be done in the wedge series machine, but it's the wrong machine for the job. What volume, what's the production rate on those small parts versus the production rate on those large parts? That's the issue.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then talk about the water. You mentioned this earlier. If you have the capacity, maybe you go to a direct drain, or you're just recycling. Are there advantages, disadvantages?
Yeah, well, the advantage, think of it this way. Do you want to take a bath with the same water as me going first and 5 other guys, afterwards? I don't care how many times you filter recycle. That's, your facial expressions, you start laughing. You get it. Okay. Same with your parts. Though, if you start and say you got a PPAP parts and everything's got to be, those parts on Friday are going to be nowhere near as pristine clean as those parts that were done Monday morning with the same bath water. Okay. Now you change the bath out once a day. Well, you're getting better, but ideal, you want to shower. Okay. Just a continuous flow. And typical guideline for a recipe is you got 1 gallon of solution, which is water and chemistry, per cubic feet of machinery per hour of operation as a guideline for a recipe. Now, and general rule of thumb in Chicagoland or around in most parts of the country that has somewhat of a soft water, okay, 2% dilution. Okay, harder water, you're going to use more chemistry. Okay. In most of the country, you got 2% is a good guideline to start at. In Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, they got extremely hard water. I'm up to 10, 15% sometimes.
Oh, wow.
They got extremely hard. Now, you got British Columbia, the Pacific Northwest of Washington and Oregon. I'm at a 0.5 to 1% a lot of times. Okay, so it all varies all over the place. Everybody's got different stipulations. That's why we say we'll start with a guideline, and that's why we run the sample parts here. Okay, this is what we did here. Now, to create it over there, you might have to change modify a few things with the recipe. And we're going to give you that recipe, and you're going to run your parts for a while, and you're going to notice, hey, you know what? You checked the part. I told you run it for an hour. You checked it at a half hour. They're good enough. You just doubled the capacity, your production. Okay, now you don't have to run it as long.
That's really this Mark. This has just been incredible. And again, I love the way you did the shop tour. It really showed visually exactly what you guys are doing, and I love your passion for it as well. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, hey, it's a family business. My livelihood for 27 years now. The company's been around for 33, going on 34. Okay, but I've been, full time. I mean, all my life I've been since inception. But I was a kid then. My old man making me sweep the floors, run sample parts, pick weeds, go do deliveries, and I've grown from there. And then just since high school, just working multiple jobs, and always working for the family.
Mark, you really know this industry, and you are just everywhere. You're so proactive. I admire that.
Thank you very much, Mark. Another great presentation, and so glad to have you back on the program. And so
Anytime.
this webinar has been recorded. It will be posted later on the EPARTRADE platform, distributed through our newsletters and social media channel. And we will be back next week. We're going to be talking electronics with GFB. In the meantime, we pushed Giant's product back on the homepage of the EPARTRADE platform. So please take advantage of it. We're live every Wednesday, but the platform is open 24/7, 365, never sleeps. And it's right there for you, the industry. So thank you very much. And we'll see you live again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us, and we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
With Shop Monkey, we've been able to grow the shop by 20% in gross sales since implementing it in the shop. Everything that we were doing before has been sped up with Shop Monkey. All of our parts ordering, all of our approvals, all of our mechanics knowing what to do next. And I've had friends that are in the trade that own shops ask about Shop Monkey, and I highly recommend it just because of easy use. There's nothing like it with that kind of platform.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.